Sure, there is the classic green is calming and red is energizing argument, but this ignores two crucial points: colors, cultural, and commercial context. Welcome to Design Bigger, the podcast for designers and studios ready to think bigger, design bigger brands, and land bigger projects. I'm Nika Warland, an ex-big agency brand strategy director who took her blue chip client expertise to build a freelance career helping independent agencies around the globe. This is the podcast where I share the tricks of the trade for lean design thinking to set you up as a world-class creative talent. As a translator between business and creatives, I'll show you how to speak client, hack top agency frameworks, and think like the best studios out there. If you're ready to design bigger, hit subscribe and let's get started. Hello, creatives. I'm your host, Nika, and this is our second Design Frameworks episode, which means we're going to deep dive into brand strategy frameworks and whether they're actually useful for independent designers and studios like you. These episodes are designed to be short and sweet, to give you maximum information on when and how to use frameworks like that and whether you should use them at all. So the previous episode was on brand archetypes, and today we're diving into a topic I almost didn't cover because honestly, I never use it myself, which is color theory. Now, before you come at me, let me clarify. Color theory is real. It's taught in art school. You should know it. It exists. But as a brand strategist, I never mention it unless a client specifically asks for a semiotic deconstruct of their brand identity or a competitor's identity. And that's rare. So why cover it? Well, a couple of months ago, I was in an office where a creative presentation was happening for a big corporate B2B client. It wasn't my meeting, but I was there. The client sat at a desk next to mine while their agency presented over Zoom, and the agency was sharing concepts for a major brand identity refresh. The client worked in finance, where, as you know, many brands tend to be quite conservative, and the work on his screen was predominantly dark blue. So at some point, the agency launched into a 5-minute deep dive on dark blue's positive associations, how it evokes trust and stability and calmness, which is perfect for finance, right? Wrong. In this particular case, all of the client's competitors already use dark blue as their main brand color. And judging by the mix of boredom and frustration on the client's face, the color theory argument wasn't really landing. The problem? Color theory is static. So let me explain. Color theory was invented by Isaac Newton in 1704 when he created the first color wheel by refracting light through a prism. Pretty cool. Later, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe expanded on it with theory of colors, focusing on psychological and emotional effects of color. And there's been many more studies on the topic after that. Today, color theory is a foundational module in art schools and design courses. It teaches how colors interact, influence perception, evoke emotions, and covers concepts like the color wheel, primary versus secondary colors, RGB versus CMYK, psychological and cultural impact of color. It's an incredibly useful theory, just less so for branding. Sure, there is the classic green is calming and red is energizing argument, but this ignores two crucial points: colors, cultural, and commercial context. Let's take green. Traditionally, it's associated with nature and relaxation, right? But in 2024, lime green was the color of Brad's summer, the opposite of nature and relaxation. It was urban, it was rebellion, it was digital culture and female empowerment. Same with pink. Classic color theory says pink represents femininity and innocence. But in 2020, millennial pink wasn't about that. It signified digital-first brands disrupting corporate giants with sustainability, transparency, and a new way of doing business. Remember that? When everything was pink? So if you're still clinging to classic color theory, you're missing the point. Instead of saying blue is reliable, do a cultural audit. What does blue mean right now in your industry, in your country? You might discover that it now signals conservative and outdated thinking. That's what matters for the client. Color can really make or break the brand. So if you want to justify a color choice, frame it from a cultural and commercial perspective. Ask the real questions. How different is it from competitors? Does it stand out on the shelf? How does it impact user experience? Does it make website or retail navigation easier. And here's the trick if you want to talk about color in an intelligent way. Talk about category codes, the unspoken design rules of a particular category. For example, clean skincare category code is white because it communicates purity and transparency, right? So it evokes the concept of no parabens, no silicones, no fillers. In finance, the category code is dark blue because it feels safe and trustworthy, and that's why everyone uses it. In candy, bright primary colors are the dominant category code because it signals intense flavor and sweetness and fun. So the next time you want to make an informed decision about color, don't Google the meaning of that color. Instead, talk about it from the point of view of category codes and then decide whether you want to follow the category code, subvert, or break them entirely. That's where differentiation happens and where color becomes a strategic tool, not just a design tool. So instead of telling a client, we chose white because it communicates purity, say, most clean skincare brands use white to signal purity, but we're going a different route to stand out. Or if we're using white, the same color as our competitors, we need to ensure we can differentiate through supporting graphics or secondary color. This approach isn't about how a color makes people feel, it's about how it works in real world. So if you want to sound like a designer who understands the commercial landscape, avoid classic color theory language. Instead, talk about differentiation, shelf standout, user experience and impact, navigation, and cultural relevance. So there you have it. Color theory is only relevant if you present it in a cultural and commercial context. And if you want to know which brand strategy frameworks top agencies actually use and which ones you can skip, join the waitlist for my upcoming training at nicowarland.com. I'll drop the link in the show notes. In the course, I'll deep dive into the frameworks that work for independent agencies and how to talk about color in particular. That's it for today. I hope this got your strategic juices flowing. And if you have thoughts or questions, DM me on Instagram at Nico Warland or find me on LinkedIn at Nico Warland. Until then, go create something beautiful and remember, the best designers are always strategic.